Yesterday, we had a guest in the studio at this time, Anthony Kerry Ngarama, who was telling us about his wife who left the country and went to work in Saudi Arabia in March, was able to be in touch with the wife until the 10th of July, and then thereafter, it's just been difficult to communicate with the wife. Monday this week, he was able to have a video call with somebody who was trying to link him up with where the wife is, but he didn't get to talk to the wife, or rather, they didn't communicate. He spoke to the wife. She didn't even look at him at the camera. She didn't talk. She didn't utter a word. So he doesn't know what's up with her. Those that are minding her tell him that she's unwell. He doesn't know exactly what this means. She's no longer working. She's somewhere in a hostel, and he just wants his wife back. This is just part of the very many stories that we've heard over the years, and we keep hearing them about people who have gone to work in the Middle East. And the question always starts with there are agents who help you to relocate to the Middle East. There are agents who help you to get employed in the Middle East. And when they board you on a plane here, the local agent leaves you alone. When you land in the Middle East, whichever country you've gone to, and then you're taken to your employer, the local agent basically also abandons you. That's the complaint that we hear from those that are returnees, and they're saying, this is the kind of ordeal that I went through. We have an agent in the studio this morning. Violet Karanu is the director of the J Horizons Travel Agency. Good morning, Violet.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Tell us about your agency and what you do, how long you've been in operation.
My agency is J Horizons Travel Agency. We are an accredited recruitment agency by National Employment Authority under the Ministry of Labour. We've been facilitating domestic workers, casuals, laborers to the Middle East, that is Saudi, Qatar, Dubai, and the likes. We've been on operations as a company since 2014. I myself have been in the industry since 2010. Previously, I was employed in the same industry, but then 2014, that's when I opened my company. So then I can say that I'm at a better position to speak more about any questions you might have to.
So Violet has 12 years experience in this industry.
Yes.
Okay. And your company has been here for the last 8 years.
8 years, yes.
So you have, and you're duly registered by the National Employment Authority. Take us through this registration process. What does being registered mean? What are you registered to do exactly?
So you need to get, especially to be able to recruit for the Middle East, that is Saudi, Qatar, you need to be vetted by the National Employment Authority. You need to register. There are specific requirements that you're supposed to have. Supposed to have an office. You're supposed to have a HR person in your office as well. There is a license fee that you're supposed to pay, which is an equivalent of 500,000 Kenya shillings for the license, valid for 1 year. And once you get that, then you're registered and you're given your license, and then you're registered on this platform that is called Musanid, which now governs, for example, in this case, we're talking about Saudi Arabia, right?
Okay.
So there's Kenya and Saudi Arabia, and there's a system that is called Musanid, where once you're registered, you're enrolled on this system, and you're able to contact and contract with other agencies from Saudi, and that's the platform we use to recruit. Yeah.
So who runs this Musanid?
It is run by both the Saudi Ministry of Labour and the Kenyan Ministry of Labour. So, for example, National Employment Authority have access. I cannot issue visas in the Kenyan embassy without an approval from the National Employment Authority. Yeah. So there's a place where we have to upload their passport and request approval. Again, after you've submitted all the documents required for the girl to get a visa, then NEA, the official in charge, is going to make an approval. So then after this approval, you're able to proceed to the embassy to get the visa. Okay. Yeah.
So how do you then, or how do agents generally select those who are going to go? Or is it a free-for-all? Anybody who wants to go, I can approach you today and say, look, I want to be able to go and work in Saudi Arabia. And then you would now start the process for me. And then what is your selection? What's the selection process? How do you make sure that, who's going is legitimate and all of this?
First and foremost, what we look at is a will to work, right? Do you have the will to work? Because you might come to me, you want to work, and you want to go to travel for work. But as I look at you, I analyze you. You just want to be that person that wants to be in a plane and then be like, bye bye. I've traveled, right? So I have to see the need for you to work, yeah. And then there is the age requirement, which is 21 and above to around maybe 45. And then there is, of course, the physical appearance in terms of any sort of abnormalities. Maybe you don't have a hand and things like that. And then what else? Gosh, I got lost. Anyway, so once and then you're supposed to go to school. We take you for training. Yeah. When you go for training, so there's NITA who coordinates the training, and there are schools that are approved to do this kind of training. And once you do that, you're then given an examination. This training goes for 3 weeks. You're then given an examination. So once you pass these examinations, then it qualifies you to proceed to get your visa. If you don't pass, then it means that you have to go through training again. And then there's the medical examination that we do as well. You have to be fit to get a visa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much are these applicants charging to be? Because basically, if I'm coming in, the assumption is, and you can walk us through this so we can get it right from the beginning. The assumption is that there's an amount of money I pay, and I hand it over to you, and then you facilitate everything for me, and then you tell me, look, Ndu, your stuff is ready. You may then go. Is that how it works?
No, that's not how it works.
Okay.
No. So for a domestic, so we are still on the topic of Saudi Arabia, right?
Yes.
You come to me, you want to travel for work. The first thing I will ask you, do you have a passport? Because that is the number one requirement. You cannot leave the country without a passport. And then if you do not have a passport, then I will ask you, do you have a birth certificate? Because for you to get a passport, you need to have a birth certificate, ID and all that, right? So then we will start processing all this documentation. Yeah.
So that's stage number one. Okay. Somebody has come to you, they are willing to go, and then the first thing you want to find out is whether they are fit to travel, whether they have the documentation for travel. If I say yes, I have a passport, then
you have to be enrolled in school for training. Okay. Yeah, and this training, it's free. We don't charge you for training. We don't even charge you for the medical test that is supposed to be done. You don't pay. Sometimes you even find a candidate who tell you, I do not have transport to come to Nairobi, because most of these training centers and all these procedures are done in Nairobi. So a candidate will tell you, I don't even have transport to come to Nairobi. And we would also facilitate that. So there's no single coin that a candidate pays on regard to domestic work.
What does that mean? When you say the training is free, when you say that transport Nairobi and maybe even accommodation during these 3 weeks is going to be catered for, what does that mean? Who's paying for it?
So the employer is paying for it. The employer in Saudi Arabia who needs an employee approaches, so now they deal with the government. You approach the government, you then register and fill in the form that you need to have an employee from Kenya. There is a service fee that you're supposed to pay, which this is going to cater for all the processes in the country here in Kenya, your plane tickets to your country of work. It will cater for your residency permits, your work permits, all these health insurance and stuff like that.
Violet, thank you very much. You've actually now introduced us. So we are dealing with both sides here. We're dealing with somebody who's seeking employment in Kenya, coming to Violet, and we are dealing with somebody who is looking for a worker in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
This person in Saudi Arabia, who do they go to? Who's the Violet equivalent? Who's the J Horizons equivalent in Saudi Arabia?
So there are also accredited agencies in Saudi Arabia who their main purpose is to do recruitment on behalf of the employer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when this person, let's say, give me an example. A family goes to an employment agency in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And they say, we'd like somebody to come and work for us. What are they required to do?
So they are required to fill in the form, give details about their family, give details about where they live, what's the number of people who live in that house, what kind of person are they looking for? Are they looking for a nanny? Are you looking for a caregiver? Are you looking for a cleaner? Yeah, all those specifications, And then you then given a number of CVs to choose from. Yeah, so we produce the CVs here. So once we've done all your documentations, we make a CV and then we send to our counterparts in Saudi Arabia. So then a client, when they walk in, they say, this is what I'm looking for. And then they say, okay, this is what we have. And then they choose from there. And then they're like, okay, this is, and then the office over there will tell us this has this particular employer.
All right.
Right.
So let's say, for purposes of the conversation, it's the ladies that you're sending to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So let's say, now for these purposes, Ndu is one who's come to J Travel in Kenya.
Right.
Eric is one who's gone to this agency in Saudi Arabia. So by the time I'm walking in there, I'm only going to find the people that Jay and the agency in Saudi Arabia have dealt with and
Right.
created their CV.
Right.
So I look and I select, okay, I'd like this one called Ndu to come.
Right.
Is that the point when I start paying now for their transport and their...
Oh no, that's not the point you start paying. But there's a down payment that is done to the Musanid, right?
Okay.
So that they can start the process, right? And then once the visa is issued, and then we've sent a copy of the visa, then the full payment is done. So then now we can facilitate the travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does Ndu pay on this side in Kenya? Because this is a thing that many people have said, I had to pay something in order for me to then gain access. What do they have to pay? Or is there anything they have to pay at all? I can come to you, basically, I say I'm looking for a job and we figure this out. And the agent on the other side has also dealt with the family. What are Kenyans paying here?
Zero.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So nobody's paying anything.
As far as I'm concerned, no.
Are there agents, to your knowledge, that are asking or charging for Kenyans to be able to get access to the system, which would then give them jobs?
You'll probably find an agency who'd request a candidate. You know what? Are you able to pay for your own medical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they'll be like, yeah, I'm able to pay for my own medical. Okay, then
It
pay
costs
for
this
it.
much.
Yeah, it costs this much. Then you can pay for it. I mean, I don't see a big problem with that. Because it's also making someone feel independent and work for what you're getting, right? If you feel that you have the ability to pay for your own medical, you have the ability to pay for your own passport, that's not a problem. But then if you come to me and tell me, I really want to work, but I don't have the ability to do this, then I'm going to tell you, you know what, I'm going to finance you.
Okay.
Yeah. But then again, if I'm financing this one and this one and this one, and they keep talking, no, why didn't you finance me? So I always be like, you know what, I'm going to do it for everyone.
You do it for everybody.
Yeah.
So how do you make your money?
Because I have a service fee that I charge my counterparts in Saudi.
Okay.
So then all the cost is included in that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your money comes from your counterpart in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Now, is there any understanding that as an employer who's gone and paid some amount through Musanid, I am going to recover the money that I've paid? I mean, I've paid for somebody's transport, I've paid for their medical tests, I've paid for their training.
And I'm still going to pay them a salary.
They're coming and I'm still going to be paying them a salary. Am I going to recover any of this money?
I mean, if you're not going to recover the money because even when, for example, if you have someone coming to work in Kenya, a company will need to pay all this stuff, right? You need to pay work permit, everything. And if the employee gets to a point where they don't want to work anymore, they have to leave, you lose, right? So it's a gamble. But once the contract says when you go there, you have 2 years working contract and you have 3 months probation period. During the 3 months probation period, the employer or the employee can decide, we are not working together and it's not working for us. So we can change, yeah? And then you change the employer or you change the employee. Or if the employer gets to a point, you know what, I don't trust the candidates that your office is giving me, I'm going to have to withdraw within the 3 months. So then he's entitled to have a refund. Yeah, depending on what agreement they have with the Saudi counterparts. Yeah.
There's something that you've said which I found particularly intriguing, and this is the process you go through when vetting a possible candidate for employment in Saudi.
Right.
Do your counterparts have a similar vetting process for the employer? Do they go into the background of this employer and find out whether this person actually does need somebody to work for them, or they have some nefarious intent for actually getting somebody?
Or they lied. They said my household has only 4 occupants and yet it has 12.
Yes.
Right. So this is one of the things that I always have a conversation with my counterparts. I tell them, listen, I am doing this. your turn to do the same, right? So I cannot speak for other agents. I can speak for myself and say, yes, my counterparts are doing it. And I tell them it's important for them to do it as well. And also, as much as I'm trying to educate my candidates here on the cultural awareness, how the Saudis live, they also need to educate them how our Kenyans live. So then there's a balance when they go in, they know how to coexist with each other.
Sure.
But this one, even as you say it, it strikes me as everything that you're doing is actually sanctioned by the government. Government agencies are at the heart of everything we're doing. Should this, instead of you taking the mantle of trying to determine, or you and your counterpart in Saudi, should this not be something that both governments actually have a hand in? Because it's governments that have the resources to know about people, not individuals. I can lie to you if you come to me. But a government agency, it will be difficult because they can know things about me that no one else does.
Right.
I'm simply asking, should the government not be, well,
The one doing the vetting.
yes, should they not be the ones who are actually doing should they not play a part in this vetting on their side?
On their side.
Yes.
Well, this is a good point, and as the industry is growing, because this industry has a long history, right? And as we go, these are some of the suggestions that we do when we have meetings, and suggest to them, maybe this is what you're supposed to do on your end to make it easier for us as well, right? And they also make the suggestions to us that this is what we are able to do here to make it easier for them. It's a win-win just to play together.
So, Vivian, I'm sure you've heard the stories. I mean, and we're not talking about, what has been sensational in the past couple of days. We're talking about the stories that have come out in the last 10 years easily, of isolated as they may be, because obviously bad news travels faster, isn't it? Yeah. But there have been some really crazy stories coming out of Saudi Arabia in terms of the mistreatment of Kenyans who've gone there to work, who've gone through what they see to be a legitimate agent, the manner in which they have been treated when they're on the other side, and then the even more painful issues that they've had to deal with in terms of repatriation to Kenya. What is going on from where you are sitting? Because every time we speak to some of these people, the issue that comes in is that the person who took me there now is incommunicado, and now I have no way I cannot reach them. That's been the thing. Right. I can't reach them. They're not telling me anything. Even when they try to facilitate a phone call, we have recordings. We've heard from people who tell us these things. So what's going on?
Sundu, listen, we've had history in this business. Like I said, initially, what used to happen, you'd have a visa sent, I'm talking about 10 years ago, yeah? You'd have a visa sent to you by DHL. And then I'll come to you and tell you, you know what, I can take you to Saudi, I have this visa. And then we go to the embassy, get your visa issued, and then you travel. There was no system to know what's going on, right? And then it later happened that we had all these foreigners come in, and we used to call them briefcase agencies, yeah? So they come with a load of visas, and they approach, probably they go to a busy area like a market, find a mama mboga there and tell them, you know what, I have this amount of visas. If you get me this amount of girls who want to travel, I'll give you this amount of money, right? And then these girls travel, they're happy, and then they get there, they have a problem. Mama Mboga is not available on phone. Yep. Maybe she changed her phone, right? Or she doesn't care anymore. She got her money, don't stress me. Where does she start, right? And then the other guy who was a briefcase agency, they don't even maybe have her number or something. So those times you find someone, the girl has never been to an office, doesn't even know the office that processed her visa is located where. So then those times we used to have so many of those cases, because you end up in distress and you have nowhere to run to and you have nobody to advise you, yeah? And then in 2014, the government banned the business, and they created a task force that came up with an idea that the two governments came together and made a bilateral agreement, and they now form the Musanid system, where now you're able to check who is, for example, if I travel to Saudi and I put in my passport number on that system, I'll be able to see which office facilitate my travel locally, which office received me in Saudi, who is my employer, what is their location, what is their phone number, etc., etc.
Okay. So Musanid does all these things because it's a government-to-government arrangement.
Exactly.
And Musanid is actually managed by the two governments,
yes.
Government of Kenya and Government of Saudi Arabia. Are there people who are leaving the country and going to Saudi Arabia to work who are not going through the Musanid system?
No. There used to be a point that we had some cleaner visas that they didn't go through the Musanid system. Now it's not possible.
It's not Just say that again. It's not possible for you to be in Kenya today, like the people that we see who even left last night, the people who left the day before when Diana made her way back into the country.
The people who are going to leave today.
The people who are going to leave tonight. That there's nobody who is going, and let's just again use Saudi Arabia as the example, that will not leave from Kenya going to Saudi Arabia that have not been through the Musanid system.
Not at all.
So where is the complaint coming from? And that's my issue. That where is the complaint coming from? And for me, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100. That if one person is complaining that they've been mistreated and they cannot have access to be able to get back, that's one too many. How then do they get to the point whereby somebody is in distress, they're unwell, they've not been taken to hospital, they're trying to get in touch with somebody, they cannot reach them. It takes the intervention of a local member of parliament to start to push with Mofa here and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I mean, if we're saying that the system does not allow, or rather that you cannot go without this system being involved, then how do we get that situation happening?
So it gets to a point where you have for example, if you travel with my office, and you get there and you have a problem, you have a number that by the time you live in here, you're taken through your contract, you're made known what are your rights, right? And you have a problem, you have a right to contact me or my representatives in the office and let us know what is your problem, right? In some scenarios, you'll find that probably there are agencies who are not able to follow through with the cases that they have. And also, I'm lucky I've been in business for a long time, right? So for we as Kenyans, we like to see, okay, there's a potential in some sort of business and I want to get my foot into it, right? And then today you come in and you say, you know what, I want to try this recruitment business, and you open your own company, and then you get through with it, and then you have a case where a girl has a problem, and then you get confused all of a sudden. What do I do?
Because of your inexperience.
Because you don't have any experience, right? And as you try to find solutions from your colleagues and from the government or wherever, then the problem has already blown out. So then we need to get to a point where we are able to work together and also be in a position where we can be able to advise people who are new in the business and also know how we can work together with the authorities and the government on how to help the girls in distress.
There's a question that's still not answered.
Okay.
And the question here is, why would somebody get to a point of distress? Why would somebody go and get to a point? It doesn't matter where the experience of the agent here. There's a government involved. There are two governments involved. But then somebody has gone and they get to a certain homestead there and they are in distress and they don't know how to deal with this issue.
And we're saying the home has been vetted as well. I
Yes.
mean, that's from what you've said.
Yes.
The home where this person is going to, because in most cases they are homes. They are homes.
Oh, yeah, they are homes.
Right.
Yeah.
They've been vetted
They've been
as well.
vetted. There's a
For some
government
reason, this person
involved.
is in distress.
Yeah.
By the time
so we
the
need to
Kenyan
understand.
embassy is dealing with this,
Yeah.
let's talk about this after we come back from this break.
All right.
Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Violet Karanu. She is the director of J Horizons Travel Agency, one of the many agencies that are licensed by the National Employment Authority to recruit and take people to go and work in the Middle East. We're talking about this case of Saudi Arabia particularly. So we understand so far from Violet is that the deal between the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the government of the Republic of Kenya. There's a system in place. It's a portal. It's called the Musanid portal, where all this is regulated. So what we want to understand is, where is the breakdown? What's working and what's not working?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We are seeking to unravel and to understand exactly what happens when Kenyans leave this country and go to Saudi Arabia to work. And then there are those that are happy, and there are many that are not happy. And not just not happy, they are actually not doing well at all.
You know what happens is that so long as no one is complaining, nobody even wants to know what it is that you do. We just know that people, families, members leave the country, go and work abroad. When there's a problem is when now there's this scrutiny and there are all these questions. Now, as a business, the collection of individuals and companies that are part of this industry of yours, are you members of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
That's a requirement.
it's a basic requirement.
Yes.
All right. Now, what are some of the services that the Chamber of Commerce, because Chambers of Commerce have relationship with other Chambers of Commerce.
Right.
So, are you saying that, say, for instance, if you want dealing and seeking employment for people, but say you are selling mangoes, and that someone in Saudi had a problem with their mangoes, wouldn't the Chamber of Commerce come in and try and rectify that problem? Wouldn't they have a mechanism for dispute resolution, if I may call it that?
Right. Right.
And does ours do that?
Yes, precisely.
So no, they've been very helpful, and normally they're the ones that help with the bilateral agreements and the negotiations. So, and we've had continuous meetings with them and airing our problems. And as we speak, they've had meetings with the ambassadors, and they're arranging on how they're going to have like safe houses in different parts of Saudi Arabia, where they're going to have like, if you are in distress, you have a place that you can run to rather than going to a hostel where you can be hosted. Yeah, so you just run to your Kenyan safe house, and you find a Kenyan there who's going to help you, and labor attaches in these safe houses as well.
I can understand that as an intervention. I can. But in your opinion, is that dealing with the issue? And I guess we can come back to that in terms of that question. Is that, I mean, from where you are, I mean, I doubt, but of course we're living in a world of crazies,
Right.
but I doubt that an agent is going to want to take on Kenyans, put them in a situation that has potential danger, and then not want to do something about it thereafter. So I can understand that as a mitigating interim solution, but the fact of the matter is that there is an issue that puts these Kenyans in distress in the first place.
Right.
So the question is, at this point, are agents on this side of the pond able to guarantee that where you're going to work, that nobody's going to mistreat you, nobody's going to assault you, nobody's going to do whatever it is when you're in their employ? We've heard stories. I'm sure you've heard them as well. Vivian, people, their pay is held, their passport is taken, they cannot even take a walk from here to yonder. They are sick, they're not taken to hospital. Some of them are beaten.
They're denied
Women
food.
are raped. People show up dead. They're denied food. People come back to Kenya, they're emaciated. And we're hearing that you go using a system that is foolproof. On both sides, everybody knows what's going on. But we have these cases that are occurring. So the question is, can we really guarantee that they're going safe? Ambassador Macharia said the other day that he said, for this class, stop going.
Yeah.
But
But this
people
is not
still
the
said
solution, yeah.
this is not the solution.
Yeah.
Safe houses, in as much as they could be a good thing in an interim stopgap measure, is not
Yeah.
the solution.
So number one solution we need to do is educate our candidates who are traveling there on the sort of different distresses that they are going to face, right? For example, if it's you go to a family and you have issues with food, we advise them on what you're supposed to do on that issue, yeah? Because they have different kind of patterns in terms of their their day-to-day life, yeah? You wake up in the morning, you have the whole day to do your chores, but your employer is sleeping because it's hot, and then they wake up in the evening, that's when they do their thingy, yeah? And then you need to eat. You cannot wait for them to wake up to be able to eat. So I'm able to advise you how to deal with that kind of a problem, yeah? I'm also able to advise you if you get to a point where you're sick, what are your rights in that regard, yeah? You have a right to health care, and you have a right to tell your employer, I'm not feeling well, I need to go to the hospital. If your doctor says that you need a day off, then you need to get a day off, yeah? But then this is where the two offices come in together. So my candidates contact me because they trust me, and I'm the one who facilitated their travel, right? And I need to be able to trust my office over there that whenever my candidate is in distress, I'll be able to communicate with them, this is what my candidate is going through, and this is what the employer has done, and this is what we expect you to do. And then they need to follow up and let us know what solution was, what solution they got, right?
Is there a requirement for either of you agencies to conduct random visits to where you've placed your candidates? So you can just go and check, go visit them and find out how are you doing, how are you finding the family, how's the working condition, are you okay, is there anything that you need?
No, we don't have that requirement to be able to visit them because it's somebody's house, right? You cannot just appear, right? But we do have contacts, right? I can contact them by WhatsApp, by phone calls, and check how they're doing. We have a support group on WhatsApp where all the candidates, for example, they keep contact, and whoever has an issue, they ask for advice. I am going through this. What should I do? Things like that, yeah? But another issue that happens is we as Kenyans, we like to... We are hungry, and that's a good thing about us. We see an opportunity and we want to grab it, yeah? But you get there and we have this, I call it a mafia. There's this whole mafia that is recruiting people from employer's house. So you go, you're working for this employer, and then I come and recruit you to run away because I will take you to a certain employer. That employer will give me some little kitu kidogo, right? And then I'll take you to work there. But the moment you run away from this employer, you're illegal, yeah? And you go and work to this other employer. This employer is not anywhere in the system. They can treat you however they want. You have problems, you've run away now. You cannot even contact me because I don't even know how to assist you from there. Yeah. So the only thing I can do when you contact me is to ask you, where are you? Can you go to the nearest police station? Then can we liaise with the embassy to see how we can assist you on that regard. But the moment you run away, you're illegal.
Do you get many
That's
of such cases?
We do have a lot of those cases.
So what
A
is
lot
this
of
that
those
is
cases.
happening? So how does this rogue agent know that there is somebody, a potential person in this house? How do you even contact the person in that house?
So
Because we're talking about you're in somebody's homestead,
right.
right? And you came in directly to this homestead, landed at the airport, you were picked up, you were brought into this particular homestead, and you're working in there. This other mafioso, how do they know that I'm in this home and I would be willing to?
So they
bend?
have like a group, and whenever they go to the schools, to the training centers, they create groups among themselves. And one of the candidates that are there are ex-Saudis. We call them ex-Saudis, people who are
Okay.
going back for the second of that contract, right? And they are already in touch with other people over there. So you find that you have gone there the first time, and then someone tells you, oh, how much are you getting? 900 Saudi riyals? And they're like, you know what? I can get you 1,200. And you're like, okay, I'll come for it. And then they liaise, okay, send me your PIN location, we'll send you a taxi, and the taxi guy comes there and picks them up, and they disappear. That's it. And we can trace them anymore. Once you leave, that's it.
So you're basically poaching your candidates.
Yeah, they're poaching our candidates, and it's a big mafia over there that are doing this. We just need to find a way that both governments can come together and just kill this.
So why has it not been addressed?
It has been addressed to some level, but also sorry to say that there are our own Kenyans there in the embassy who are doing that. Because I do have candidates who came back, who ran away, and I try and keep good relationship with them because I know that I need to help them. And if they get into problem, I'll be the one who'll be crucified, right? So when they come back, they tell me, you know what, I need to come back. I'm sorry I ran away. Could you please assist me with my copy of a passport, right?
Okay.
And this copy of passport is supposed to give them a temporarily paper to travel back home, yeah. And who does that? It's the guys in the embassy. And then I ask them, but how is that going to work? Ain't you supposed to go to deportation first? Because once you run away, the easiest way to do is go to the deportation center. And if you have money to buy your own ticket back home, you do that. And if you don't have, then you have to wait for the deportation center to arrange for you to go back home, right? But then they say, oh no, I'm not going to go to deportation center. What is going to happen? I'm going to go to, there's a guy in the embassy that I'm going to pay a certain amount of money, and then they're going to arrange for me paper to come back home. So it's a very complicated issue.
It is.
Yeah.
What I mean, all right. We asked the question a couple of days ago, and I think obviously because people are coming to agents
Yep.
to say, look, and I'm sure there are lots. People are still coming today to say, I would like you to facilitate for me to go. These are Kenyans today who don't have jobs, who have jobs, but what they're being paid they cannot survive on. What other cases are you seeing of people who are coming and saying, look, for whatever reason, just get me out of here? Because I'm looking at that Saudi riyal you've talked about of 900. That's 30,000 shillings roughly
Equivalent to 30,000 rice.
per month,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Tax-free money.
Tax-free money.
Yeah.
Nobody's touching it. It's just that, and then you're living in this house or whatever. They're
Zero
feeding
expenses.
you, they're clothing
Yeah.
you, all of this.
Yeah.
It's a world away from what they're getting here.
Yeah.
What are the reasons why people are going from what you've seen?
Unemployment first, and then we've had cases of a mama want to just go and work and educate her children. Yeah, there's a lady who is there who says, my daughter is in university. I need to stick around here for the next 4 years until he clears. Yeah, some of them have just given birth. They don't know how they're gonna find money to raise that child, so they leave that child with their parents, and then they travel and make money and send back home. Yeah, some of them want to make some money to go and be able to come back and further their education. Yeah, some of them want to be able to go and make some small money and come and start business. Yeah.
So even with some of the stories that we hear, people don't. So what is it? People are willing to risk it, or people are going with agents that can be trusted? What do you see is the reason why people are still going?
First and foremost, I think it's because Kenyans are go-getters, and they're like, you know what, I'll do whatever it takes to secure that bag, right? And then second, they say, okay, with that, I need to find an accredited agency and a credible one that I feel safe with. Yeah. And so they go with that option. Yeah.
A number of things that you've mentioned. Number one, that the passport is held by the agent. Is that correct?
What do you mean? Held by the agent in the country or
Wherever, because
Okay.
somebody's calling you and telling you, can you facilitate me with
Travel
my
document.
passport and my travel documents?
Right.
Why is it that?
Why don't they have their
Why
passport?
don't they have their passport?
So locally, I will need to keep your passport because I'm the one who is facilitating the visa. I'm the one who's going to take all the passports together to take them to the embassy.
Okay.
I'm the one who's going to bring them back from the embassy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they travel to Saudi, so the narrative is that the employer keeps the passport. Now, there's a reason why they keep the passport.
Okay. Right.
Because they know their own countrymen. It costs a lot of money, an equivalent of around, let's say, maybe $3,000 to have an employee come to
To
your
bring the employee to your
yeah,
house.
it costs roughly around that amount.
Air
And-
ticket, plus
yes,
the
exactly.
facilitation and everything.
Right.
Okay.
And then there's this other person who doesn't want to pay that amount of money. Yeah. And they're waiting for the moment that you come there, and then they're going to be like, entice you, I'll give you half more of what you're getting. Yeah. But I only need you for 3 months. Yeah. And in return, you'll have your own freedom. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. So they're only safeguarding themselves. It's not because of the candidates. It's because they know their own country people. Because if there's no, for example, if there is no Saudi who is willing to employ an illegal person, there will be no runaways. Because where do you run away to? Who is going to employ you? Yeah.
So, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that the cases we hear of, given where we are sitting and what we do, we hear more and more of these cases. We are saying these are the anomalies. These are not the regular cases. These are things that happen per chance, and these are just bad apples. So let me ask the question. On a yearly basis, how many people would you say, roughly, anecdotally speaking, say go to Saudi Arabia to work, or in the Middle East? Or not, just
Yeah. In a year, we can say around 3,000.
3,000.
3,000.
All right. So if we then say that the complaints we hear, say, amount to, say,
We know hundreds
yes,
are complaining.
yes,
But
yes, please.
Quoting the PS for Foreign Affairs.
Yeah.
What,
But you
what
know,
he- when he
hundreds
told
are-
Parliament.
Yeah, hundreds are complaining for a specific period of time. Yeah. But we have around 300,000 Kenyans in Saudi Arabia as we speak.
Alone. Saudi
Alone.
Arabia
And
alone.
that is the registered, the ones that are registered, yeah? The one that we can trace. The others we cannot trace. So if you have a small number of, let's 100, yeah, compared to 300,000, it's not a small number, but it's small, right? It's just so to say that there are problems. There will always be problems, yeah? It's just we need to recognize what kind of problems and how do we avoid the problems and how do we need to solve those problems if we get to that point, right?
So you're saying you're learning and improving as you go along.
Yeah.
Because this is what industries do. You
Sure.
start off assuming that what you're doing is correct or it's good, and then you realize perhaps you hadn't taken care of certain things. And you're saying that as we move along,
Yeah.
now, something that, maybe it was mentioned and I was half asleep when you said it. Beyond what you said was a basic requirement for those who want to work in Saudi. What about the levels of education? Do you have minimum, maximum beyond which you cannot work?
So basically, it's a KCP. You have your KCP certificate. You're able to communicate in English. You're able to read and write. You're able to read instructions and things like that. Because at the end of the day, when you get to your employer's house, they're going to teach you how they like to do their own things, right? So we do not disqualify you because you did not get to your A levels or whatever. No.
You know, in many, especially even in government and private sector, if your employer facilitates your further education, you're bonded. So you'll come back from your further education, but you'll work within this organization for at least X number of years. Is there such kind of bonding? Because somebody in Saudi Arabia is spending hundreds of thousands of shillings to bring a worker into their home. Are they bonded? Must they stay in that home?
They don't have to stay. Like I said, the probation period of 3 months, yeah? Within these 3 months, you're able to know whether the environment is conducive for you. And then you're like, you know what, this and this happened. I don't feel safe. I need to change employer. And it's always open. You have three chances to change an employer.
So formally, there's no bonding.
Yeah.
But informally, like you've said, there is bonding because you've handed over your passport, your travel documents to this person. That means you cannot leave this country without my say-so.
So what happens
Is this formally recognized in this Musanid agreement between Kenya and Saudi Arabia that you will deposit your passport with your employer?
Yeah, so there is the bilateral agreement that was signed was within the Kafala system. The Kafala system is a sponsorship system where you get a visa through a sponsor. This is the system that they have in Saudi. So once you go there, you're under that person. Anything that you need to do, the person needs to approve. If you need to exit, the person needs to approve. So it doesn't mean that whenever your documents are needed in whatever situation, they will be available for you. It's just that he's securing them that you don't get to use his paperwork to work elsewhere.
Okay.
Right.
Who pays for medical bills?
The employer.
And this is also recognized. It's
Yes,
also in the contract.
it is one of the domestic labor law rights for the domestics in Saudi Arabia.
So in the cases that we hear an employer did not take this worker to hospital, an employer was mistreating their worker, an employer was doing this and the other, what is wrong and what would you now suggest? You are an experienced person in this field. You have seen people come and go. You have very many of you're calling them candidates, your candidates in Saudi Arabia. You have heard the problems, you've seen the problem. What needs to happen?
I did have a case of that sort. There's a lady who fell down during duty and she broke her she broke her back. And the employer refused to take her to the hospital. And the girl kept communicating to me and kept communicating to the employer and kept giving her Panadols, right? And I communicated to the office. I said, this is what is happening. This girl is not fine. You need to go and make sure that that girl goes to the hospital. So when the office went to the family, the employer still refused to take the girl to the hospital. So I told the office, this is on us. You have to take the girl, take her to hospital, first things first. So the girl was admitted in hospital and was taken care of. And then what the office did is went to the Ministry of Labor office and complained about this employer. And then eventually the employer was forced to make payment for the hospital bills for this candidate and process her return back home. So it's a matter of communication. You need to communicate with your counterparts in Saudi, show them that you know the rights, show them that you know the procedures that are supposed to be followed and make sure that they are followed. And then if the office does not cooperate with you, then you have now the authorities. I need to approach National Employment Authority, tell them, I have this issue, I need your help on this scenario. And if they're not able to do it, then they are able to check with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Kenyan Embassy and see how we can go about it.
Violet, from the point of now you as a practitioner, what would you recommend to be done in terms of tightening the system at government level, at the government of Kenya, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
What needs to be done, because mostly there are some issues, there are some steps that are taken and rules passed without involving the stakeholders, in this case the agents, because we are the ones who know where the problems are, right? So I feel like we all need to work together. We need to make sure that we have safe houses in different parts of the city. We need to make sure that even the Kenyan embassy in Saudi Arabia have access to the Musanid system so that whenever they have a complaint, they're able to check and know how to go about it. They need to increase the number of labor attaches in the country. We need to also educate our candidates when they're living here. What are their rights, how to handle different situations, right? And we need to also let them know how they need to behave and how they need to talk to the employer as well. And we also need to tell them, because sometimes as Kenyans, tuko na kiburi. Yeah, sometimes we like to, I'm sorry, but we like to play victim sometimes, yeah? We need to stop playing victim sometimes. We need to accept our mistakes. Where we have a mistake, we need to come out and say, we have a mistake, this is what happened, what do we do, right? And then you need to also understand, some girls when they go there, you have a problem, you don't want to accept that you have a problem. You just want to play, oh no, she did because there's this narrative that Saudi is bad. So
Yeah.
whatever I'm going to say is going to be counted as correct, right? So regardless, I am the correct one. You guys do whatever you need to do. Yeah.